Sunday, May 3rd, 2026, the Worth 400 at Texas Motor Speedway just delivered one of the most debated finishes of the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season. Chase Elliott crossed the finish line first, but the conversation after that checkered flag had nothing to do with celebration. It had everything to do with what happened in those final 4 laps, and whether what Hendrick Motorsports pulled off was brilliant execution or a coordinated move that pushed the boundaries of fair competition. Denny Hamlin did not hold back, and the NASCAR world is still processing it. Here is how this race actually unfolded, because context matters. Elliott started 14th. That is not where you expect a race winner to begin the day, but from the opening laps, the number 9 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet was quietly building something. Elliott did not even take the lead until lap 152 of 267, when Corey Heim brought his number 67 23X1 Racing Toyota to pit road for fuel on an off-cycle strategy. From that moment on, Elliott controlled the race with authority. His pit crew backed him up perfectly, posting their 3 fastest pit stops of the entire 2026 season on that single afternoon. Elliott led a race-high 87 laps, more than any other driver on the day. Then, with 11 laps remaining, Heim spun in turn 4 and hit the wall. That single-car incident triggered the 7th and final caution of the race and brought every lead lap car back together. Everything Elliott had built over 150-plus laps suddenly came down to one restart, 4 laps, 1 shot, and the lineup behind him was about to change everything. On that final restart, Elliott chose the inside lane. Hamlin lined up outside, and right behind Elliott, locked in and ready, was his Hendrick Motorsports teammate Alex Bowman in the number 48 Chevrolet. What happened next is what everyone is still talking about. Bowman did not hesitate. He committed fully to pushing Elliott through turns 1 and 2, delivering a hard, sustained shove that gave Elliott exactly enough momentum to clear Hamlin off turn 2. Once Elliott got to clean air with track position, the race was effectively decided. He pulled away and crossed the finish line 0.407 seconds ahead of Hamlin. Bowman held on for third, just 0.298 seconds behind Hamlin. Behind them, Tyler Reddick had pitted for 2 fresh right-side tires and charged from 9th all the way to 4th in those final laps. And on the white flag lap, Kyle Busch, frustrated after tangling with John Hunter Nemechek, knocked Nemechek's car sideways. A separate incident that added even more chaos to an already dramatic finish. The race stayed green, and Elliott took the win. Chase Elliott in victory lane was honest about how close it actually was. "I wasn't really sure whether to go top or bottom," Elliott said of the final restart. "You know, the bottom had been winning out on a lot of the restarts. I felt like, man, if I didn't get clear off of turn 2, I was going to be in a lot of trouble. Fortunately, Alex gave me a great push, was able to execute turns 1 and 2, get clear, and then just kind of manage the last few laps." This was Elliott's second win of the 2026 season. His first came at Martinsville, and his 23rd Career Cup Series victory. It was also his second win at Texas in the last 3 years. He joined Tyler Reddick as the only multiple winners of the 2026 season. Elliott moved to 3rd in the standings, now just 8 points behind Hamlin and 117 behind Reddick. Alex Bowman kept his comments team focused. "Honestly, just to be having solid days and finishing races after how the start of the season went, it feels good," Bowman said. He had missed significant time earlier in 2026 due to vertigo, and this 3rd place finish, following a 3rd place at Talladega, was a clear sign his comeback was real. He also acknowledged one specific moment in those final laps. "Big shout out to Reddick for cutting me a break on the last lap. That could have been bad." Denny Hamlin was measured in tone, but direct in substance. "Yeah, I thought I got a good restart there at the end side by side," Hamlin said. "But then, you know, just the way the side draft works there into turn 1, with him getting the push from the 48, it just allowed his momentum to pick up a little bit quicker than mine. I tried to hang on to the side, but I was just getting tighter the closer I was getting to him. So good, decent day, just 1 short." But Hamlin's post-race comments went further than that measured quote. He made it clear, without Bowman's push, the outcome of that race would have been completely different. He pointed directly at the push as the defining move. Not Elliott's driving, not strategy, not pit stops, the push, and he described it as aggressive and borderline irresponsible given the speeds and the tightly packed field on a restart. At those speeds, in a field that compressed, 1 degree of misalignment on that push turns a race-winning move into a multi-car catastrophe. Hamlin was not exaggerating. That is simply the physics of 1.5-mile oval racing on a restart. And this is where the real debate begins. On one side, the argument is simple. Teammates push each other in NASCAR. Drafting, tandem racing, and strategic cooperation between cars from the same organization have existed in this sport for decades. Hendrick Motorsports executed a plan. Both drivers trusted it, and it worked. That is organizational strength. That is what championship caliber teams do. Bowman made a decision for the good of the organization. Elliott delivered on track, and Hendrick put another win on the board. But Hamlin's argument hits just as hard from the other direction. This is the NASCAR Cup Series. Wins matter more than anything. Careers are defined by wins. Contracts are influenced by wins. Legacy is built on wins. Alex Bowman was in a position where he had a legitimate shot at a victory and chose, fully and without hesitation, to surrender that opportunity in service of his teammate. That is not a small thing. At this level, that kind of sacrifice stands out. And when a driver is essentially taken out of the competition, not by his own performance or by a crash, but by a coordinated organizational decision to redirect that momentum to a teammate, you have to ask what the line is. Hamlin pointed out something a lot of fans were already thinking. Bowman did not really make a move to win that race himself. He played the teammate role all the way through, and when one organization can deploy two cars as a coordinated unit on a restart, effectively transforming a solo battle into a 2-versus-1 situation, drivers on the outside of that arrangement are going to feel it. The broader question is one that NASCAR has not fully answered. Where does team racing end and manipulation of the competitive order begin? Organizations like Hendrick Motorsports are so structured and so coordinated in moments like this that it begins to feel less like a race between drivers and more like a race between entire systems operating in real time. Denny Hamlin went out there and drove a clean, competitive race. He got a strong launch on that restart. He put himself exactly where he needed to be, and he still lost. Not because Elliott outdrove him, but because Elliott had a teammate locked onto his bumper who had made a decision before the green flag even dropped. Adding further context to the intensity question, Ryan Preece was fined $50,000 and docked 25 championship points after NASCAR determined he intentionally wrecked Ty Gibbs. Preece had radioed "I'm done with him" before the incident. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch avoided a penalty for his contact with Nemechek, with NASCAR citing inconclusive data and the fact that Busch's car was barely steerable at the time. These two outcomes, sitting side by side with the Bowman push debate, put a sharp spotlight on exactly how NASCAR is currently drawing its lines around intent, aggression, and acceptable conduct on track. Meanwhile, the rest of the race produced its own set of significant storylines. Christopher Bell led 22 laps and was running at the front when Todd Gilliland's spinning car clipped him on lap 68. Bell's number 20 Toyota rocketed into the outside wall, ending his race. He finished 38th, but last place. His last four finishes in 2026, 27th, 20th, 17th, and now 38th. It is a brutal stretch for a driver who entered the season as a genuine contender. Joey Logano, the defending Texas race winner, never got the chance to defend his title. On lap 94, Cole Custer came to a near stop on pit road to avoid Ty Gibbs exiting a stall, and Logano had no time to react. The collision peeled back the left front fender of Logano's number 22 Penske Ford, ending his day. "I'll just keep digging and go to the next one," Logano said. Ty Gibbs lasted until lap 110 before slamming the turn 3 wall following contact from Preece, the same incident that later resulted in Preece's fine and points deduction. Kyle Larson, the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series champion, spun solo into the turn 2 wall on lap 160. "I just lost it," Larson said. He finished 34th. He remains winless in 2026 through 11 races. Kyle Busch ran in the top 5 for most of the day. On the white flag lap, after tangling with John Hunter Nemechek, Busch knocked Nemechek's car sideways. Busch faded to 20th. On the positive side, Connor Zilisch recorded both his best qualifying effort of the season, 12th, and his best Cup finish on an oval, 16th. Chris Buescher, racing near his hometown of Prosper, Texas, posted a 5th place result, a career best at Texas Motor Speedway in 17 starts. "It means a lot," Buescher said. "Home track, so many friends and family here." In the standings, Tyler Reddick still leads the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series with 5 victories. He sits 109 points ahead of Hamlin and 117 ahead of Elliott after Texas. Hamlin, despite his frustration, remains in a strong position. He acknowledged as much when he noted that Elliott probably needed that win more than he did, a reflection of where both drivers sit in the championship picture. Hamlin is playing a long game, focused on consistency, playoff positioning, and points. Elliott's win changes the texture of his season entirely. Momentum, confidence, and a sharper playoff track all shift with a victory like this. Bowman, for his part, is not close to a playoff spot after the time he missed due to vertigo, but back-to-back top 3 finishes at Talladega and Texas signal clearly that the number 48 car is back to being a competitive force. The next stop for the NASCAR Cup Series is Watkins Glen International on May 10th, 2026 for the Go Bowling at the Glen at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1. A road course changes the dynamic entirely. Drafting and teammate pushes matter far less on a circuit like Watkins Glen. Individual driving skill takes center stage. It is a reset of sorts, but the history that was made at Texas Motor Speedway on May 3rd is not going anywhere. Denny Hamlin will remember it. Every driver who watched that restart from inside the field took note. The next time these names line up side by side with something real on the line, all of this comes with them.